I almost died because of a welding cable. Sounds ridiculous. I know. But if that cable hadn't wrapped itself around my arm, I wouldn't be here telling this story. A huge shopping mall was being built in Matino, Moscow. People go there every day now. They shop, drink coffee, watch movies, and walk under lights without giving them a second thought. One of those lights is hanging from a hook I welded. And that hook nearly cost me my life. Back then I worked alone. No company. No crew. No steady income. Just me, my welding machine, and whatever jobs I could find. One day I saw an ad. Welder needed. Simple. I called. The next day I was standing inside an unfinished shopping mall, talking to the site foreman. He explained the job. Then he pointed up. Way up. I looked at the ceiling and immediately said, "No." The job was simple on paper. Weld a steel hook into the ceiling for a chandelier. The problem wasn't welding it. The problem was getting there. The scaffolding went almost all the way to the roof. One narrow line of planks stacked higher and higher. No safety net. No proper harness. Nothing that would make a normal person feel comfortable. Just metal pipes and wooden boards. I looked up. Then I looked at the foreman. Then I looked back up. No. That was my answer. The foreman smiled. Then he named the price. 30,000 rubles. For maybe 2 or 3 hours of work. Now if you've ever been broke, you know exactly what happened next. Your brain starts doing calculations that would never make sense under normal circumstances. I looked at the scaffolding again. Then I thought, somebody built that thing. Somebody carried every plank up there. Somebody climbed it. Somebody survived. Maybe I would too. So I said yes. Loading everything took forever. The welding machine. The cable. The welding mask. Electrodes. The hook itself. The welding cable was the worst part. Heavy. Stiff. Always trying to pull you somewhere you don't want to go. On the ground it's annoying. 10 meters in the air it's terrifying. Every few meters I had to stop and secure it. If that cable pulled unexpectedly, I could lose my balance. And if I lost my balance, well, there wasn't going to be a second chance. I tried not to look down. I focused on one plank at a time. Just the next step. Then the next. Then the next. The scaffolding moved slightly with every movement. Not much. Just enough to remind you that gravity never takes a break. By the time I reached the top, my shirt was soaked with sweat. Not from work. From fear. Eventually, I reached the ceiling. I found the spot. Set everything up. Put on my mask. Started welding. And something strange happens when you're welding. The moment the arc starts, the world disappears. Everything goes dark except that bright white light. You stop thinking about where you are. You stop thinking about how high you are. You only think about the weld. The puddle. The angle. The electrode. For a while I completely forgot I was standing 10 meters above concrete. Eventually the hook was done. I checked the weld. Looked solid. Good penetration. Good bead. I remember thinking, finally, time to go home. Then I made a mistake. I looked down. The ground rushed toward me. At least that's how it felt. My head started spinning. The entire building seemed to move. And after that, nothing. Absolutely nothing. Black. I don't know how long I was unconscious. 1 minute. 10 minutes. Maybe longer. I have no idea. What I do know is this. When I opened my eyes, I was still on the scaffold. Still at the top. Still alive. At first, I didn't understand what was wrong. Then I tried moving my right hand. Nothing. I couldn't feel it. Couldn't move my fingers. Couldn't even tell where my hand was. For a second, I thought something was broken. Then I looked closer. While I was unconscious, the welding cable had wrapped tightly around my arm. Like a giant tourniquet. The blood flow had been cut off. My arm was numb. Completely numb. And then I realized something. That stupid cable. That heavy piece of equipment I had been cursing the entire climb. It had saved my life. While I was unconscious, it had locked me against the scaffolding. If it hadn't wrapped around my arm, I would have fallen. Straight down. No net. No harness. Concrete floor below. End of story. I sat there for a long time, trying to get feeling back into my hand. Opening and closing my fingers. Again. And again. And again. Slowly the feeling started returning. Pins and needles. Pain. Then movement. I've never been happier to feel pain in my life. Nobody below had any idea what happened. Workers were moving around. Tools were making noise. People were shouting to each other. Normal workday. Meanwhile, I had just been unconscious 10 meters above their heads. Getting down was harder than getting up. Not physically. Mentally. Now I knew exactly what could happen. Every shake of the scaffolding felt worse. Every movement felt dangerous. I didn't look down again. Not once. Eventually, I reached the ground. The workers started clapping. About 30 guys. Some came over and shook my hand. Called me crazy. Called me brave. They thought I had simply completed a difficult job. Nobody knew what had happened up there. I didn't tell them. The foreman kept his word. 30,000 rubles. Cash. Exactly as promised. Then he pointed toward another section near the ceiling. There were gaps between steel beams and walls. They needed to be filled with foam. Same height. Same danger. Same money. I immediately said no. The foreman smiled again. Then he repeated the amount. Another 30,000. I still said no. Then I thought about it. Finally, I made him a different offer. I said I'd only do half the work. Both sides. Same pay. To my surprise, he agreed. There was another deal too. While climbing down, I would dismantle part of the scaffolding. Not all of it. Only the upper half. Once the top section was removed, the remaining structure could be moved around safely. I did my part. Finished the foam work. Took down the agreed sections. And once again, the foreman paid exactly what he promised. No arguments. No excuses. No tricks. I remember standing there holding 60,000 rubles. Thinking, 6 hours. Maybe a little more. 60,000. There were times when I couldn't make that much in 2 months. Working for yourself isn't always freedom. Sometimes it's survival. While doing the foam work, I got to know another crew. Russian guys. 12 of them. Their foreman was named Andrei. They were installing fire curtains. Massive steel barriers that automatically drop during a fire and stop flames from spreading. They needed welding work. I needed work. Simple. I asked Andrei if they had room for one more guy. He said he'd talk to the crew. A day later he called. I was in. I packed my things and moved in with them. The first thing I told them was, I know how to drink, but I don't drink while working. They laughed, said that was fine. Then one of them said, you'll learn how things work around here. At the time, I had no idea what he meant. The crew worked around the clock. Day shifts, night shifts. Everybody could replace everybody. Those guys worked hard, really hard. Money was split equally. Nobody complained. They called me Archurka. Strange thing is, I never took it as an insult. It sounded more like ownership, like family, like saying, he's ours. And over time, I understood that they genuinely meant it that way. A few weeks later, I learned another secret. Most of the crew smoked spice before sleeping. Not all of them, but enough. That wasn't my thing. I stayed out of it. As long as they showed up and did the work, it wasn't my business. What worried me more was alcohol. Because if there's one thing Russians can turn into an Olympic sport, it's drinking. One night, I noticed workers from another crew acting strangely. Looking around, checking corners, watching who was nearby. One of them was Timur, an electrician I already knew pretty well. As a joke, I asked, what are you stealing over here, and why aren't you sharing? He looked at me, then said, come with me. We went up one floor. He pointed at a section of ceiling. There were 2 cable runs installed side by side. One of them wasn't supposed to be there. Or at least nobody was tracking it anymore. A lot of copper. A lot. Timur explained everything. The old electricians were gone. The new ones didn't care. Nobody was checking. Nobody was counting. Nobody even knew the cable existed anymore. Then he smiled. You can cut it and sell it. I asked about his crew. He said they already had their own section. We wouldn't interfere with each other. Then he offered me a deal. Help him. Split the money. I said no. Not because I was some saint. Because it didn't feel right to cut my own crew out. So I went straight to Andrei. Told him everything. The reaction was immediate. The entire crew loved the idea. We assigned 2 guys full-time to the cable. Removing it. Cleaning it. Selling it. Every evening, the money got divided. And the money was good. Very good. Everything was going perfectly. Which usually means trouble is already on the way. One day the police arrived. Not 1 car. Not 2. 2 full buses. I've never seen so many officers in one place. Uniforms everywhere. People getting pulled aside. Questions being asked. Workers being searched. Complete chaos. The 2 guys handling the cable got caught first. Then everybody started getting rounded up. Including us. I honestly didn't know whether to run, hide, or pretend I was just another worker. Before I could decide, Andrei stepped in. He grabbed my arm, pointed at me, then looked at the officer and said, this guy has nothing to do with it. He's basically our slave. He doesn't decide anything. We tell him where to stand, he stands. We tell him to lie down, he lies down. He doesn't even understand what's happening. Let him go. The officer wasn't convinced. Andrei kept pushing. Wouldn't back down. Finally, they let me go. I still remember that moment. Out of 12 guys standing there, I was the one walking away. Because Andrei decided to stand between me and the police. 2 days later, he called. Everything was clear. Everybody was back. Come to work. I showed up with a car full of gifts. Vodka. Food, useful things, stuff I knew each guy actually needed. I spent around 70 or 80,000 rubles. Didn't care. Those men helped me earn far more than that. For 3 days, we barely left the trailer. Only for the bathroom. The rest of the time we drank, talked, laughed, argued, told stories, and drank some more. Like every drinking session eventually becomes, we were brothers forever by the end of it. At least until the next morning. The shopping mall eventually opened before the World Cup. People still visit it today. Most have no idea what happened during construction. And they never will. But if you walk through that building and look up at the right chandelier, you'll see something interesting. That chandelier is hanging from a steel hook. A hook welded by a man who passed out 10 meters above concrete. A man whose life was saved by a welding cable. A man who probably should have said no to that job. But sometimes the jobs that almost kill you become the stories you remember forever. And this is one of mine.